So I finally played The Last of Us, and yeah, let's talk about it. So if you're new to the channel, you might already know, but I have like a 20-year gap in my video game life playing, whatever you want to say it. And The Last of Us was one of these games that I had seen in commercials, and during that time I was really excited about it and wish I had the chance to play it and didn't until now. And I am super excited that I got the chance to play it. I absolutely adored this game, but it's not without its faults. I do have a PS3 copy, and this is again one of those games that I think I started it like 3 or 4 times before I actually sat down and decided to play it all the way through. And I'm not sure why I did that. So I've seen that opening sequence so many times before I actually sat down and played it all the way through. And wow, I am super glad I actually decided to play all the way through this one. As far as the story goes, it's, your basic post-apocalyptic world, very, very similar to things like The Walking Dead. And it kind of lost me a little bit with the similarities between the two, but as you progress through the story, it really didn't matter. It is its own story all by itself, and I really appreciated that. Speaking of the story, that's where this one shines probably more than any other place. It really gets you into the game. In fact, if you've played it before, you know that opening sequence, and I'm trying not to spoil anything here, that really sets the tone for the game, is super crazy and really, really well done to kind of draw you into the whole story. Really appreciated it, even though I saw it like 4 different times before I decided to play it all the way through. The other thing I really appreciated was how this game played. It's a lot different than anything else I had really played up until now. It kind of steered away from your typical video game tropes where you start the level or the chapter, go through and do your thing through the loop, and then fight the main boss at the end of the level. It really didn't have any of those things. The boss battles were few and far between. In fact, I'm trying to remember, the only thing that felt kind of like a boss battle is in one of the stages you end up fighting, like they call them bloaters, which are these big, infected people that are larger than some of the other ones. So taking him out was a little bit more difficult, but the only really time that it felt like a big boss battle, most of them were like sequences that you would have to go through. And what was great about that is it really lent itself to the story of the whole thing. It moved you away from just your typical video game, like I said, fight the boss at the end of the level and move through. It just kept continuing the story over and over again, which I really appreciated. The other thing I really loved was the mix of how you could complete each mission, right? So you could go in there guns a-blazing, or you could try and stealth your way through. And I love that. For me, I tried to stealth as much as I could, but there are some points where it's almost impossible to stealth completely through. So I also like that too, where they kind of forced your hand a little bit. So you had to learn how to use all the other weapons and things like that in the game. For me, my favorite weapon ended up being the bow, although limited ammo with that thing. But yeah, that was a blast, walking around and sneaking up to people, or, you could shoot them from afar. And, yeah, it helped with the stealth aspect too, which is kind of how I like to play games if it's an option. But going back to the diversity of the gameplay, some of the stages you would find yourself in a trap upside down and you would have to shoot off the infected or the other people that were running around. And, other times you'd be injured and have to walk really slow through a level. So all that was great. I will say, if I had to pick anything to be super picky about in this game, some of the levels did feel a little monotonous, I guess. For example, in some of the sections, it felt like a real long time before anything actually happened. You would could find an outbuilding and there might not be any enemies to engage with or anything, but it was just a way to run around and gear back up. One of the things that this game I thought did really well was you did have to find ammo and things so you could create your health kits and things like that. But I never felt in the game that I was running out of ammo or running out of things to be able to bandage myself up with and heal. I thought they did a real fantastic job of leveling that out. So there is a little bit of a sense of, oh my gosh, I need to make sure I have ammo. But when it really came down to it, I was never depleted during the game. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit with that too. So even though parts of it felt a little monotonous as you were walking through and gathering equipment, there was still always this little sense of fear in the back of your head that there was going to be either a jump scare and you're going to have to do some battling, or, something was going to come up. So it was super intense. In fact, I'm not sure I've played a game that gave me this much anxiety while playing, but in a good way, right? So just that constant rush of adrenaline as you're just searching around. And some of the searching around almost made it feel kind of like an open world game. It's not, don't get me wrong. It's very linear, push you right through the story. But yeah, it did a good job of a combination of exploration and having to be in these big battles. And once you got into a big confrontation in this one, there always seemed to be like this lull of storytelling and just walking through a section of the game or the world. And it kind of helped cool you down after that adrenaline rush of getting through a big battle or a horde of infected. One of the nice things they did with the story on this one too that I appreciated was, even though the infected was the big overall arch of the story, it didn't really feel like that was the only thing that you were doing, was fighting off hordes of these infected enemies. A lot like The Walking Dead, the main story revolved around how all these other people and groups were handling themselves within the environment that they're in now, which really helped push the story forward. Graphically, this game was super impressive. Again, I played the PS4 remastered version and I thought it was really, really well done. Just even little things that made sense. So like if you're walking around with Ellie and you crouch down behind a box or a car or whatever, she would come right next to your side and kind of crouch down too. It really felt like you had this companion all the way through, and they would help you through some of the battles, although sometimes they were more of a nuisance than they were an actual help. And I think that was done intentionally. But yeah, it just still, graphically, it was really well done. And the sound design, the music it was fantastic. This thing will hold up forever, at least a remastered version. I haven't played the PS3 version in a while, but yeah, this remastered version, I can't see it ever getting dated. I don't know how much I really liked the weapon upgrades and stuff like that. I feel like it was kind of an unnecessary thing, but just kind of something else to do in the game. So that's another kind of nitpick I had with that. Sometimes you want a little bit of realism. If I find a gun laying on the ground, the chances of me finding gears on a shelf that would help me like increase its ammo capacity or things like that, it's kind of like, I don't know if that really needed to be in there, but it was a kind of like a side thing that you could possibly do. They were few and far between though, and you could basically get these toolboxes that would give you extra levels of upgradability for all of your gear, or all of your weapons, I should say. And they did put them in pretty, I guess, obvious spots. I didn't use a walkthrough or anything with this game, but I did get every single toolbox, and without even really searching out of the norm of the game. So they did that very well. As far as the difficulty goes in this one, I thought it was honestly kind of perfect. They did a really good job of making it not too easy. You're going to die in this game. But when you do die, where they start you off is pretty forgiving. So it's just kind of like a big trial and error thing. So if you try to go through a horde of enemies one way and it doesn't work, it's pretty easy to go back through a second time and just try a different way. So that I super liked about this game because it kept the story going. I felt like if it would have been too difficult, and I'm sure you can adjust the difficulty levels and whatnot, it might get frustrating without being able to move that story forward, which was really the highlight of the game. And again, giving you that option to either stealth your way through some of this or go in guns blazing, that is probably, as far as the gameplay mechanics, one of the things I appreciated the most about actually playing the game. So yeah, overall, this game was an absolute gem. I'm super happy I finally got a chance to play this one. Just all the little things. The story is really the driving factor, and that's what sucked me into the game the most. Some of the things that happen during the story really make you question whether you would have made that choice yourself or not. Which is kind of fun and makes it a little bit more open to the sequel. Now, I have not played the sequel. I've read a little bit about it, and I know some people hate it, some people love it, so I'm really excited to get into it. But yeah, overall, this game was, again, an absolute gem. So glad I got the chance to play it. We'll definitely be playing part 2. And the nice thing about it too is now that I finished the first one, I actually get to watch the TV show. So I actually did start that and got through the first episode, and I think it's really well done so far. One of the driving factors of me wanting to actually play this game. But again, if you're like me and you've missed this one for whatever reason, don't miss out on it. It's an absolute gem. So much fun, so much emotion to be had in this game. Your anxiety levels will be up there, and the emotional story just takes you for a ride the entire time. Absolutely loved it. Would recommend it to anyone. So there you have it. That is my little opinion of The Last of Us. If you like what we're doing here, please think of liking, subscribing, all that kind of fun stuff. And if you want to see more of these types of videos, you can check out the last one here. That's it for this one. We'll see you in the next video. Late.